Good morning, everybody. This is BSc 6M Chemistry 6.1 Inorganic Chemistry part. In that, first chapter is Industrial Chemistry. There we have to discuss cement, glass, paints and pigments. These three chapters are there as far as Industrial Chemistry chapter is concerned. Now let us discuss one by one. The first is cement. Cement, generally it is called as Portland cement, and the general definition for this cement you can give it as it is a powdered material which initially have plastic flow when mixed with water or other liquid, but has the property of setting to a hard solid structure in several hours with varying degree of strength and bonding properties. This type of natural cement may be regarded as a mixture of burnt silicates and lime. The acidic siliceous matter combines with calcium hydroxide during the setting of natural cement. Chemically, this Portland cement is defined as a finely grounded mixture of calcium aluminates and silicates of varying compositions, which hydrate when mixed with water to form a rigid solid structure with good compressive strength. A Portland cement is a mixture of the following compounds: dicalcium silicate, tricalcium silicate, tricalcium aluminate, tetracalcium aluminoferrite, magnesium oxide and calcium oxide. Symbolically, they are also represented, and their abbreviations are also represented as C2S, C3S, C3A, C4AF. These are some abbreviations they are often used in the discussion of this manufacture and types of different Portland cements. Then types of Portland cement. Depending upon the rate of setting, heat of evolution and strength characteristics, this Portland cement has been categorized as 5 types of Portland cement. Type 1, regular Portland cement, which is used for general concrete constructions, which contains 40 to 60% of tricalcium silicate, 10 to 30% of dicalcium aluminosulfide and 7 to 13% of tricalcium aluminate. White cements, oil wall cement, quick setting cements are belonging to this class. Then type 2, modified Portland cements. These are sulfate resisting cements which are used where moderate heat of hydration is required, and these cements are characterized by higher ratio of dicalcium silicate to tricalcium silicate. Type 3, high early strength Portland cements, and these cements contain higher percentage of tricalcium silicate and tricalcium aluminate with finer grinding to increase hydration rate. Here the tricalcium silicate causes a quicker hardening than a regular Portland cement. This type of cement is used for construction of roads, which are put into service much sooner than the road constructed from regular cements. Then type 4 cement is low heat Portland cement, which contains a lower percentage of tricalcium silicate and tricalcium aluminate, and these cements are designed for massive structural work. The last type is sulfate resisting Portland cement, which is good for seawater content, which resists sulfates better than the other 4 types of Portland cements, which contains a lower percentage of tricalcium aluminate. So it contains less than 4% of tricalcium aluminate and higher in tetracalcium aluminoferrites. So these are 5 types of Portland cements. And what are the raw materials used for manufacture of these Portland cements? The main raw materials used here are limestone and clay, which supply all the 4 principal ingredients that is calcium oxide, alumina, silicate and ferrites. Limestone provides calcium oxide and iron oxide, where clay provides silica and alumina. The relative proportion of raw materials must be such that the analysis of the final cement falls within these following limits. Lime, CaO, which is present in the limits of 58 to 65%, whereas silica, SiO2, 20 to 25%, alumina, Al2O3, present in 4 to 11%, iron oxide, Fe2O3, present in 0 to 4%, magnesia, MgO, present in 0 to 4%, sulfur trioxide, SO3, present in 0 to 1.75%, whereas alkali, sodium oxide or potassium oxide, is present in the proportion of 0 to 3%. The raw material composition is very much important in case of this manufacture of Portland cement, because the ratio, if it is varying, then we are getting different types of Portland cement, which is having an unsound cement or which is having less strength cement there. That's why ratio is very important for these raw materials. If the ratio of silica to alumina should be 4 to 2.5, and calcium oxide to silica plus alumina plus iron oxide combined together, the ratio should be 2. If it varies, what happens? If lime, that is calcium oxide, is above the maximum, the uncombined free lime gives unsound cement. We are observing such type of cement which undergoes cracks during setting. If lime is less than required proportion, resulting cement which is weak in strength, that means it doesn't contain any strength, and very early the walls will be broken down. The percentage of lime depends on through thorough mixing, burning and grinding. Tricalcium silicate is most basic. That means the ratio of calcium oxide to silica should be less than 3. If upper limit of calcium oxide is there, calcium oxide plus magnesium oxide combined together to SiO2 plus Al2O3 combined together, the ratio should be equal to 3. Lower limit of calcium oxide, if calcium oxide plus magnesium oxide combined together to SiO2, Al2O3 and Fe2O3 combined together, and the ratio should be 3. If it is less than 3, undesirable dicalcium silicate is formed and it results in an unsound cement which is not suitable for construction purpose. When silica, SiO2 is in excess, then Al2O3 plus Fe2O3 is decreased and temperature of burning is increased. If Al2O3 and Fe2O3 combination is in excess, the amount of calcium oxide is decreased. Then solution loses cementing property. So it will not have that cementing property. Just like a powder, it will be there, and it is also not suitable for construction purposes. The amount of magnesium oxide should be less than 5%. If excess of magnesium oxide is there, then again it leads to unsound cement, which is not suitable. So in brief, we can say that tricalcium silicate and tricalcium aluminates are best for the manufacturing, and dicalcium silicate is poor and a danger to the cement property. So clinker is a compound intermediate between dicalcium silicate and tricalcium silicate. Clinker is the final product got in that manufacture of cement by dry process, and this clinker combination is an intermediate composition between dicalcium silicate and tricalcium silicate. Manufacturing. The chief raw materials for the manufacture of this Portland cement are limestone and clay, and these are generally available in large amounts in the vicinity of cement factories. And there are two methods of manufacturing of Portland cement: the wet process and the dry process. The wet process is older and used mostly in India and Europe, and the dry process was invented in America and still it is used everywhere. And it should be noted that the two processes differ only in the treatment of the raw materials. Otherwise, they are very much Same equipment is used in both the cases. So it's a comparison of wet process and dry process that has been given here. In wet process, if limestone and clay are soft, climate is fairly moist, and the available fuel is very cheap there, then we follow this wet process. And if limestone and clay are very hard, less fuel is needed in burning, then we go for the dry process. So as it is in wet process and dry process, limestone is crushed to particles, clay is washed in wash mills, crushed limestone and clay slurry are mixed in ball mills to get raw slurry and further grounded in tube mills and homogenized. Materials from ball mill to tube mill is conveyed by use of screwdriver, and material is mixed with 30 to 40% of water before grinding. This is for wet process. If it is the dry process, the raw materials are separately crushed and grounded in suitable machines and dried by rotary dryers and gyratory crushers. And they have been mixed and pulverized in required proportions in ball mills. And they have been homogenized using compressed air mixing arrangement. And the resulting mass is known as raw meal. The resulting mass in case of wet process is called as raw slurry. In case of dry process, it is known as raw meal. And this is briquetted by making a stiff paste in a pug mill, and the paste is further briquetted and dried by hot air. So up to getting raw slurry and raw meal, the procedure is different for wet process and dry process. After getting raw slurry from wet process or raw meal from dry process, the further procedure is common. So here in this case, we are using the manufacture of Portland cement, which has been diagrammatically represented here. Here in this case, we are observing hopper for the raw material, where raw materials have been added into that hopper there, and through that hopper and screw conveyor, the crushed raw materials will enter into that rotary kiln, and this rotary kiln is used for making the clinker materials, where it is made up of steel sheet which is 200 to 350 feet longer and 7 to 12 feet in diameter. The lower end of the cylinder is provided with fireproof hood, to which it is attached a short rotating cylinder inclined in the opposite direction for passing out the hot clinker and for cooling it. The charge slowly moves further due to rotary motion, 30 to 60 turns per hour, given to the kiln by means of girth gear situated near its middle and a train of reducing gears. So like that, we have hopper for raw material. Through that screw conveyor, it goes into the rotary kiln, which is rotating, and it is having three parts there: upper portion, middle portion and lower portion. Lower portion is very hot there because hot air blower is also there, is provided at the lower portion of the rotary kiln there, where cement forming process has been taken place there, and the clinker has been converted there, and they have been collected into the cooler. And by means of this hot air blower, we are cycling the hot air there, so that the temperature in the rotary kiln continuously goes on increasing, and that heat has been recycled here. And the cement clinker collected in the cooler at the corner, and it has been cooled out and it has been taken out there. So in that dry process, the raw materials are separately crushed and grounded in suitable machines and dried, and it has been taken into that hopper, which is through screw conveyor, it enters into the rotary kiln, and the cylinder is about 200 to 350 long and 7 feet to 12 feet in diameter. Lower end of the cylinder is provided with a fireproof hood, to which attached a short rotating cylinder inclined in the opposite direction for the passing out of the hot clinker and for cooling it. The char slowly moves forward due to the rotary motion given to the kiln by means of girth gear situated near middle and the train of a reducing gears. The upper portion of the kiln is usually bare or lined with ordinary brick, while the middle portion is lined with thick fire brick lining and the lower firing zone is lined with fire clay bricks. The lower firing zone may also be lined with a lining made up of a concrete made up of cement clinker pebbles and cement. A blast of burning coal dust and air is blown from the lower end, that is firing end, which takes sufficiently longer time for the charge to pass through one end to the other. The hot air obtained by cooling the hot clinker is also introduced into the kiln from the lower end. During its passage, the slurry first loses water in the upper part by means of hot gases, and the dry material gravitates down the kiln and meets a powdered coal gas flame which is at a very high temperature. So in the upper portion, whole of the moisture present in the material is eliminated, and when the charge enters into the middle portion, the temperature is raised, and at this temperature limestone is decomposed into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide, and when the charge moves into the lower portion, the hottest zone of the kiln there, at this temperature the mixture is partly fused and the chemical reaction between calcium oxide and aluminum silicate takes place, resulting in the formation of calcium silicates and aluminates. And these are the chemical reactions which are taking place at different parts of that rotary kiln. So that rotary kiln is considered into three portions: upper portion, middle portion and lower portion. Upper portion where temperature takes up to 1000 degrees centigrade, where evaporation is taken place, and that we call it as evaporating zone. There limestone, that is calcium carbonate, decomposes into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide at 1000 degrees centigrade. Then the charge will be entered into the middle portion where the temperature reaches 1400 degrees centigrade, and here the calcining part has been taken place. That's why that part, the middle part, we call it as calcining zone, where the reactions are that 2 calcium oxide plus silica SiO2 giving rise to dicalcium silicate. It forms D2CaO SiO2 and 3CaO plus SiO2 giving rise to 3CaO SiO2. Therefore, dicalcium silicate and tricalcium silicates are formed at the middle portion, that is calcining zone, where the temperature is 1400 degrees centigrade. Then the charger enters into the lower portion where it is having maximum temperature, and that zone we call it as cement forming zone, where the temperature reaches up to 1600 degree centigrade, where the reactions are this tricalcium 3CaO plus Al2O3 forms into tricalcium aluminate 3CaO Al2O3, and also 4CaO plus Fe2O3 plus Al2O3 giving rise to 4CaO Al2O3 Fe2O3. That means tetracalcium aluminoferrite. Therefore, in the cement forming zone at a temperature of 1600 degrees centigrade, tricalcium aluminate and tetracalcium aluminoferrites will be formed. Here, the resulting greenish black or grey colored mass is called as cement clinker, and it is in the form of balls. And these balls are allowed to enter a revolving tube known as rotary cooler, where clinkers are cooled down. The cold clinkers delivered from the lower end of the cooler are crushed and finely grounded to exceedingly fine powder in grinding machines. The cement is filled in airtight bags to exclude moisture. Here, generally 2 to 3% of gypsum is also added to the clinker before grinding. And the function of gypsum in cement is to slow down the time of setting of the cement so that it gets sufficiently hardened in less time. This is manufacture of cement by dry process. Next is setting of cement. So when cement mixed with water, it is having free flowing property, and it is left as it is for several hours there, it sets into a hard mass, and the process we call it as setting of cement then. And when cement is mixed with water and allowed to stand, it sets to hard rigid mass by a series of complex reactions. So it requires nearly about 24 hours for the subsequent hardening, and it requires 15 to 20 days for complete hardening then. The chemical changes that take place during setting of cement as not clearly understood here, but we can presume that it is believed that various aluminates and silicates present in the cement as clinker materials form hydrates with water, and these hydrates separate in the form of gel together with slaked lime and silicic acid, formed as a result of slight hydrolysis. The gel contains much free water which is gradually withdrawn by the anhydrous core. The gel thus begins to harden due to gradual dehydration, and in this way the core becomes hydrated and the surface becomes hard due to drying. The dehydration is then followed by crystallization of the hydrated salts and calcium hydroxide in the silica gel. The crystals interlace with silica grains and impact strength to the hardened mass. As hydrolysis and crystallization proceed, the strength and hardness of the set mass increases. The process continues for 10 to 20 days. The various compounds that contributes to the heat of hardening are tricalcium aluminate is maximum, greater than tricalcium silicate, which is greater than tetracalcium aluminoferrite, which is greater than dicalcium silicate. The strength contribution of various compounds in Portland cement is 1 to 28 days there. That's why for complete setting of that cement, which is taking full of its strength there, it takes nearly about 28 days. The whole process we call it as setting of cement. Next is concrete, which we call it as RCC. RCC means reinforced cement concrete. And RCC or concrete, it is a mixture of cement, sand, which is of very small size, of 3 by 16 inch mesh size with calculated amount of water. The size of gravel or coarse aggregates varies with the purpose for which the concrete is required. Common maximum sizes of coarse aggregates are 0.75 inch or 1.5 inch. But coarse aggregates of even 0.5 inch have also been used for some purposes. So in case of heavy mass concrete, the size may be even 6 inches or more for greater constructions. The common proportions of cement, sand and coarse gravel may be in the ratio of either 1:1.5:3 or 1:2:4 or 1:3:6. When the cement concrete is filled in around a wire netting of iron rods and allowed to set, the resulting structure is called as reinforced cement concrete. So iron network will be there. Into that iron network, which is constructed with the iron rods, and it is allowed to set. The result concrete has been put into that network of iron rods, and after hardening, that we call it as RCC. Concrete has high compressive strength and relatively low tensile strength. So in order to impact high strength as high tensile strength, so that it can resist loads which tend to crush concrete, another form of concrete known as reinforced concrete is used. So it can withstand not only high tensile strength but also the compressive strength there. So to gain more strength for the constructions there, for the pillars and for the roofs there, we are using this concrete and RCC. The uses of cement, and the common uses of cement is, everyone is knowing about these things there. It is mainly used in building materials, most important building materials nowadays, and used in the construction of roads, buildings, dams, bridges, etc. For construction purposes, it is used in the form of a paste with sand and water for plastering purposes. And concrete is usually a mixture of cement, sand, gravel or small pieces of stones and water, which is used for roof and for the flooring done. The concrete sets to a very hard mass and hence used in foundations, floors, roads and walls of buildings. Concrete has also been used in the building of roofs, dams and bridges. If the cement concrete is filled in around a wire netting or a skeleton of iron rods allowed to set, the resulting structure is a very hard and rigid and is known as reinforced concrete. Reinforced concrete being very hard and strong, it is used in the construction of bridges and roofs. So this is a brief consideration of the chapter cement, where we have to give importance for the definition of cement, the raw materials used for the cement, manufacture of cement by dry process, setting of cement and some types of Portland cement. So questions will be coming in the examination only on these headings there. Thank you very much.